with all of this election overthrow energy coursing through the Republican Party right now, you'd think the guy who ginned all this up in the first place would be happy to see it. Happy, though, he is not. In the wake of nobody showing up for the Saturday rally for the January 6th rioters, former President Donald Trump released a sweary, screaming statement that was a little unhinged even by his standards. It said in part, quote, "I have had the same fake BS," he actually spelled it out, same fake bull, going on for years with the witch hunt by the New York District Attorney and the New York Attorney General, headed by never-Trumper lawyer who shockingly works for the DA's office. This is unprecedented. Over 3 million pages of documents have been examined by them, a record fishing expedition. Never-Trumper lawyers and law firms are used by the DA and Attorney General to get Trump in their prosecutorial misconduct, witch hunt, anti-Trump political campaigns are viciously waged by them to get elected, and they have nothing. I'm reading this verbatim. I'm sorry it doesn't make sense. Quote, "This has been going on for years, and the people of our country are not going to take it anymore." Really? Some of that I don't know how to make more sense. I don't even know how to punctuate it. It's like Trump freak-out Mad Libs. And when that happened, I'm not sure anybody really knew what exactly had precipitated that freak-out from him. Like, was he sad that more people didn't turn out on the mall to get justice for the people who attacked the Capitol in his name? Was he sad that nobody turned up? Was that what upset him? Why is he going on about the witch hunt and the prosecutorial wahoot now? Like, where did this come from? I'm not sure anybody quite knew what to make of that meltdown from the former president until this afternoon. We got the transcript of what happened in court today in the criminal trial of his business, the Trump Organization. You'll recall June 30th, Trump's business, the Trump Organization, was charged with a string of felonies, along with the chief financial officer from the Trump business, a man named Alan Weisselberg, who was charged in his individual capacity. Today was the first day that Mr. Weisselberg and lawyers for the Trump Organization were back in court following the initial arraignment back after charges were first filed in June. And today really should have been kind of a no-news hearing. The point of this hearing today was basically for the lawyers just to ask for more time to prepare their defense. They did ask the judge for that, and they got it. The trial probably won't be until almost a year from now, which is interesting. But in haggling over how much time they could try to get from the judge, the lawyers in the courtroom today, particularly the defense counsel for Mr. Weisselberg, made quite a bit of news, which may have had the side effect of melting down the former president in that statement. Judge for yourself. Here's what happened in court today. Defense attorney, quote, "Your Honor, the law clearly gives the court discretion to set a motion schedule in the interest and fairness of justice. I'm asking the court today to exercise that discretion, to set a motion schedule that, one, is not practically impossible for Mr. Weisselberg to meet, and two, that is not patently unfair to his interests. Mr. Weisselberg was indicted only 80 days ago. Since that time, we received approximately 3 million pages of documents. Just today, we got 3 million more pages of documents. That's over 6 million pages. Now, to review those in some orderly schedule would still require us to review 25 to 30,000 pages of documents every day, day in and day out, 7 days a week. It's very, very difficult to imagine how we can do that. It is a Herculean task, made all the more difficult by the fact that I know as I sit here today, more documents are being produced by various parties. We don't even know what we are shooting at. It is a moving target." And then he says this, quote, "Also, we have strong reason to believe there could be other indictments coming. Again, we are shooting at a moving target, so there's a real procedural issue, and I just ask, what is the rush?" Okay, whether or not there's a rush. What's that he said there at the end? "We have strong reason to believe there could be other indictments coming." Really? Why do you believe that? Tell me more. That was the defense attorney for the Trump Organization's chief financial officer, Alan Weisselberg, speaking today in court in New York. Again, this is just a scheduling hearing today. You're not supposed to make news like that at a scheduling hearing. But oh, wait, there's more. And the other part of news here from this hearing came as the prosecutor was basically trying to refute the argument from the defense counsel that there's too much information to get through, that the defense is buried in paperwork. So the prosecutor and the defense counsel have an exchange here. that leads to another revelation. Prosecutor. Quote, "There's nothing unusually complex about this case. It is a simple case of executives hiding their compensation in order to avoid tax obligations. The core documents that are relevant to these charges were produced on July 1st at the arraignment. The defendants have all been in possession of those records for 80 days at this point. We join in defense counsel's request for a schedule that's fair and reasonable. I think we differ a little bit on what that means. But in response to the arguments made, I would note that Alan Weisselberg is no stranger to these documents. These documents are almost exclusively, the overwhelming majority of these records are Trump Organization records. Mr. Weisselberg has been with the Trump Organization for 35 years. He's the chief financial officer. And while he may not have technical access to certain of the Trump Organization records, with respect to relevant financial records, Mr. Weisselberg is the boss. Mr. Weisselberg is also not an innocent party being caught up as collateral damage here. He's an executive who stands accused by a grand jury of multiple felonies, including fraud and tax evasion. It is the people's right to proceed on our case against him, and it is his obligation to abide by the schedule that the court sets." And then the defense counsel. There's back and forth a little bit with the judge. The defense counsel jumps in. "Your Honor, may I give one additional data point?" The judge. "Yes, briefly." Defense counsel. "Thank you. When we were back in your chambers, it was represented to us by the district attorney that this package includes documents that were found in co-conspirators' basements that are tax documents that go directly to the issues. So the statement that all relevant documents were produced 80 days ago just is not accurate. There are additional relevant documents we received 60 days ago, a few weeks ago, and there are more in here." Holding an envelope while he says it. And this package, meaning the documents the defense was just given by the prosecutors today, according to the defense counsel, he says those are documents found in co-conspirators' basements. Co-conspirators' basements. Which means, presumably, we're going to get some extra help on this later on this hour, but that means presumably that in the ongoing criminal case against Donald Trump's business, against the Trump Organization, search warrants are being executed in the basements of various co-conspirators that are turning up new tax documents relevant to the alleged felonious scheme. Tax documents, even today, being handed to the defense counsel that are related to the multiple felonies that Trump's company and Mr. Weisselberg are already facing. And so, yeah, I guess, cue eruption of Mount One term, right? All this complaining about the millions of documents and the terrible lawyers who are working on this case and how all the misconduct by the prosecutors here. I'm assuming that is the cause of that eruption. In the end, as I said, the judge did go along with the request by the defense for more time, which means that former President Trump's company and at least one of his executives are going to have their criminal trial play out in New York in court in September of next year, which of course will put that trial on the front page and in the spotlight right as voters are starting to go to the polls in the midterm elections. In a year when the Republican Party, unless things turn around sometime soon, this will be a year when the Republican Party stands for nothing so much as its continuing devotion to Trump. The criminal trial in which the president's business, his CFO, and maybe additional people or entities are under felony indictment for a sprawling alleged multi-million-dollar tax scheme, that should be happening right as everybody goes to vote in the midterms.